Well, hello, and welcome back to True Crimes Podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with Lisa Wilson, aka Juror 13. She's a trial blogger who resides in California. She calls herself Juror 13 because she views cases from the perspective of a juror. Her opinions are intended to be representative of the public, not the media or legal contributors, and she gives a true interrogation of the evidence from a layman's point of view. And she's written a number of books, some with co-author Nick Vanderleek about the Amanda Knox case, and Oscar Pistorius, and Jodi Arias, among others. And today we'll be talking about the most recent developments in the Oscar Pistorius case. Lisa just recently went to South Africa, and she's going to talk to us about it. So hi, Lisa. Thanks for being on again.
Hey, Liz. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's good to be back, alive.
Yes, and now tell us, how long exactly? You went to South Africa. It was your first trip, correct?
It was the first time that I had been to South Africa. It was the first time that I had met my co-author, Nick. It was the first time that I had met the Steen camps. And, yeah, it was a pretty amazing trip, which I look forward to telling you about. I've been back for a week now, and I think I'm just over the jet lag, which was not fun.
Right. How long was it? How long did you fly?
The trip itself was, with the actual flying time and the layovers, was 30 hours each way. So, when I went out there, I left on a Wednesday night and got there like Friday afternoon, and then, coming back basically took, a day and a half as well. So, going there, I had no jet lag at all. But I think that tends to be the case when you're looking forward to a trip. You're just excited to be there and you don't really think about it. But coming back, I've been dragging all week and going to bed at like 6:30, and yeah, it's pretty lame.
Wow. Now, how long were you there for? What day to what day?
I was there for 3 weeks. So I got there November 13th and came back December 4th.
Okay. And
yeah.
You were saying that on your way over. Now, since you left on your trip, we had two major terrorist attacks we were talking about.
Yeah.
You just missed one in Paris. The one. Yeah.
I did, yeah. So on my travels there, I had a lengthy layover in Paris, and I ended up staying at the airport. I thought about, venturing out and doing some stuff, but I had some work to do, and knowing that I had to make another international connection, I just didn't want to deal with it. I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to stay in the airport and hang out all day and do what I need to do. And then, got on my plane, got to South Africa, and then later that night heard the news that there had been the terrorist attack. So obviously a horrible story. And then while I was there, towards the tail end of my trip, then heard about what happened here in San Bernardino, California, which is about an hour east of where I live. And, obviously was extremely concerned when I heard that story because the people that had done the shooting at the time were on the run, and you don't know what direction they're going in. So, yeah, that was a pretty scary story to hear about, too.
Right. But you're pretty much untouched by all this now in South Africa, right? So how was it? How was it there? Was it what you expected, or how was it in general?
Yeah, no, it was, I will say it was a very, very special trip. It's something that I will remember forever. I will definitely be going back. Was it what I expected? Yes and no. I mean, I think, I don't think there's ever a time when something is 100% what we expect, and that's actually kind of the beauty of life is when things happen like you don't think they're going to. But I think one of the things, obviously, I was most aware of is violence and safety. And I wasn't quite as worried, I think, as my family about me going over there. I didn't think about it that much. But when I was there, I have to say, for the most part, I felt okay. I didn't feel like I was walking around in imminent danger all the time. But I do think part of that is being aware and trying to be, obviously conscious of what you're doing. It's not like we were necessarily in places that were overly dangerous, but there were some times that I was aware of it, like people approaching you for tips or people, following you to your car, stuff like that does definitely get under your skin a little bit, as well as just in general being around and, driving around the streets. You're very aware that every single house on the street has a high wall and has an electric fence or razor wire. They all have panic buttons. At night, all the doors are locked, even inside the house, not just the outside door, but the inside doors to the rooms are locked. And, so that's very different than the way I live my life. And so I was, very aware of that.
So did it give you a new perspective now on the Oscar Pistorius case, knowing that this was the environment he was in?
No. To be honest with you, it doesn't. It gives me perspective about, life, not just life in South Africa, but, I'll tell you really what I think sat with me the most was, and it wasn't just that looking at the houses. There was a couple times when driving in very remote places that I would see people walking along the street with very battered clothes, no shoes, it's 110 degrees out, and these people were walking to nowhere and didn't seem to have anything. And, that's the kind of stuff that will stay with me. And, it's easy to say we've all seen poverty, we've all seen homeless people, but I don't know, there was a different level of it. And, really just those moments really make you aware that no matter what we have going on in our lives, is just to have the most basic of things, to have water and to have shoes and to have a home, it does really bring you back down to earth and makes you focus on what matters. I saw an awful lot of that, people walking around with very little, and it's sad, very sad.
So how was it meeting Nick for the first time? Was he what you expected?
Well, I know he's listening, so it was great. It was really great. I mean, we've been buddies for a long time now, and it was pretty effortless. I mean, of course, it's a little odd, I mean, we a couple times looked at each other like, you're really here, like you're a person, you're alive, there was a little bit of that, but no, we got along great. We had a lot of fun, shared a lot of laughs, talked, a lot about life and what we want to accomplish and the work we want to do, and it was really wonderful, and it was a fun adventure. We did a lot of fun stuff.
Okay, and so now were you? That's great. I mean, that's great that you had someone from there to bring you around and show you everything. I mean, it's the best way to see a country.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I see the thing, that was nice too is I get to see, not only did we go off and explore these really cool areas, but just to see like him in his everyday life and places that he grew up or places that mean something to him, or just to see where he does his work every day, something as basic as that, to be in the same room or the other room working on stuff together was fun. We do it from such a long distance that it was kind of cool to be able to do that in the same place, but to see a country through somebody's eyes, through a local's eyes, and to talk to them about how they feel, what their experience has been like, how their town is different than what it was when they were a kid, what's good, what's bad, all that kind of stuff. It's just really fascinating to me. I mean, there's so much going on with South Africa. This week there was news of the finance minister being I don't know what the proper term is, being ousted or whatever, and now there's a new guy, and the rand is just falling, and everybody hates Zuma, and I mean, there's definitely an awareness of people being extremely concerned about corruption in their government. You do feel that tension. You feel the racial tensions. I mean, all of that is present, and it's not hard to see. I mean, there was a lot of things that did open my eyes.
And were you there at Oscar Pistorius' latest trial? Were you present when that was announced?
So I was there for the judgment. So the appeal itself, the appeal hearing was back on November 3rd, and Nick was there for that. That's in Bloemfontein. And the judgment was on December, let me think about this. Yeah, December 3rd, and that was in Bloemfontein as well. And so that's the one that both Nick and I were at together, where Justice Leek set aside the previous verdict of culpable homicide and converted it to murder, dolus eventualis. So we were there for that. And then Oscar was back in court this week. But that was that's back in the original, lower court back in Pretoria. And he was awarded bail, basically allowed to stay out on house arrest until the sentencing, which is going to be April 18th as it stands right now.
Okay.
So we had a couple of really huge days there that really meant a lot to Nick and I, one of them being meeting the Steenkamps. He and I and June and Barry and their lawyer, Tanya, met at their pub called the Barking Spider, which is just outside of Port Elizabeth. And that's an experience I will remember forever. It was really a special experience. And it's still so heartbreaking to talk to them, but they're very warm. I felt very comfortable spending time with them. I mean, pretty much from the get-go. You never know what these things are going to be like. From the get-go, it was very warm, hugs around the table, and a really lovely conversation that lasted for about 4 hours.
How was that arranged? Did you just ask them, can we meet for dinner, and they said yes, or how did that happen?
Well, both Nick and I have been in touch with them, and I've been in touch with Tanya online, and just kind of talking for a little bit, and then when they found out that I was going to be in the area, that I was going to be in South Africa, and that both of us were going to be in their area at that time frame, then we kind of all said, well, let's get together, let's sit down and talk. So that's how it came about.
What did you get from their experience of all this, and did you learn anything new from them?
Yeah, no, we did, and some of it, I'll share some of it with you. Some of it you're going to have to read our book, The Appeal. We're writing about it right now. I think a lot of people know we're in the process of writing that book, and we're getting pretty close to being done. So it's The Appeal is going to be published just prior to Christmas. But it was interesting. Nick and I, we truly didn't know how much they were going to be open to talking about the case itself. We didn't know if this was just going to be a light conversation about family or whatever. But it actually ended up being a very intense conversation about the entire case and what they thought about it and about the evidence and what they believed. I don't think I'm telling anybody anything they don't know, but of course they absolutely believe that Oscar killed their daughter intentionally. They've never believed the whole story about the intruder. They believe strongly that it was a fight that happened that night that ended up in her being killed. And there's one piece of information that I will tell you that we kind of talk about in our book is I was a little bit taken back by how adamant June was about it, but she was insistent that Reva had Oscar's phone in the bathroom with her. Not just her own, but that she had Oscar's phone as well, which is an interesting piece of information. Now, I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people have speculated over time, what was going on with those phones, who had what, especially since since Oscar's phone went missing and then was later wiped by his brother. There's been a lot of conversation about those phones over time, but yes, she was very clear on that Reva had Oscar's phone in that bathroom with her, and that was a major issue. And I just remember when Samantha Taylor was on the stand, her talking about Oscar being the kind of guy who always had his phones with him. We've all known those people, right? That won't let anybody touch their phones, and obviously that those are the people that make you raise your eyebrows a little bit, because they've got something to hide, and he certainly was one of those people. So, yeah.
So you think there might have been some fooling around that she caught him in the act or something?
I don't know if it's as simple as that, and again, it's speculation because we don't know what those messages are because a lot of that stuff is lost. But I don't know if it's necessarily one particular conversation. I think it could be the whole point of her having it. You know what I mean? That actually having it and having access to whatever he was doing on his phone that night. So, I think that's a part of one big whole picture, But, there was, we were surprised. There were quite a few things that they didn't know that we knew. And I don't think it's a matter of them not having the information. What I got from that was I felt like, thinking about this family going through this case, going through this trial, I'm sure just trying to literally keep their heads about them every day was a huge task. So, we can sit here on the periphery and have these conversations and look at every minute detail and know every single thing that's going on in a case. But when you're in a family and you've lost, the most dear person to you, those details are going to go in one ear and out the other. And so there was quite a bit that they didn't know, which was surprising to us. But then I think as we started talking and realizing, I think it's a matter of them just trying to catch their breath at times.
You're in shock. Yeah, you can't absorb all that.
Yeah. It was great to be able to provide that information to them and to give them some new perspectives that they hadn't thought about. I mean, I think that they were appreciative of that, You
and Nick get very detailed in your books, and So I can imagine, it takes a lot. Not a lot of people are able to get that detailed in analyzing and all the evidence. Which is what makes your book so great, You do go you get very deep.
There's a couple other things too. Obviously that we all talked about. We talked about their thoughts about the Pistorius family and everything that's going on. The thing that's tough is that, I know they've taken a lot of criticism over, being so lenient in the media about Oscar. And to be honest with you, we've been critical too. Why would a family be so quick to forgive Oscar? And a lot of that comes from their Christianity, and you can really see that this is that's a big part of what's going on there. But I do feel like in some ways I have more of an understanding. One thing that June told us was that on the day of trial, when the families were due to speak, she was going to get up there. She was prepared to get up there and speak on Reva's behalf that day. And then after some conversations with a number of different people, including Tanya, couldn't do it. Just physically, emotionally could not do it. And then, of course, we know Kim Martin got on the stand, Reva's cousin, and spoke beautifully on her behalf. But, it's stuff like that behind the scenes. I think it's really easy to say, how in the world can they not get up and speak for their daughter? Well, when you talk to somebody and you look them in the eye and you feel the burden of what they've been through, you understand it in a different way. And you can still feel, you feel that pain when you look at them in a not so direct way. You know what I mean? It's not like they're sitting there crumbling in front of you, but you feel it. It's, there's times in talking to June that you could very much sense that there was a part of her that just wanted to be in another place, So, yeah, that definitely was hard to see.
Right. So the verdict was changed to murder, and so now Oscar is free until the sentencing. So after the sentencing in April, that's when he'll probably be put back in prison, you think? Is that the expectation?
Yeah, well, okay, so there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. I know we don't have a huge amount of time. So I want to jump back for 1 second and just say we had a really cool experience, actually, at the judgment itself. To be there at that judgment with Justice Leek was amazing. I have such respect for him. His judgment was so solid and so sound. And for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, you can go on my Juror 13 blog and read it there. But we had a really cool experience afterwards to go into the library, the judge's private library, and see these books from like the 1800s, all these different appeal cases, that are cited over the course of time, and to think that Oscar's case is going to be one of those books up there someday was pretty amazing. But that was a really nice moment to be able to see the other parts of the courthouse, and we've got some pictures of that. So I just wanted to mention that. But then as far as what's going on with Oscar right now, so April 18th is the date that's set for his sentencing. But he has about 15 days to put together his paperwork for an appeal to the Constitutional Court to appeal his, the finding of dolus eventualis, not finding, the verdict. And, an important point to mention is that he can't appeal on the basis of anything that's been discussed or decided from the original trial. His appeal is solely based on the appeal, the most recent appeal, where he was found guilty of murder. So, I've looked at some of the preliminary points, and I don't see anything that even remotely comes close to legitimate. Now, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so what do I know? But in talking with other people, it seems like it's pretty loose. Like, I don't know if the appeal court's even going to hear it. They have to decide if they're even going to consider it. So they could very well come back to him after they file his paperwork and say, no, sorry, you don't have the proper grounds. We're not even going to hear it. And then as far as what happens after that, who knows? But this is his last stop. The Constitutional Court is the last stop for him to fight this. If it's not, so two things could either happen. They could say, we're not going to hear it, and then that's that, and then it's done. He goes to sentencing, and he does his time. Or they can say, yeah, we will hear your appeal, and then we have to go through another process of court and hear, what they have to say and see what the finding is from that. If that happens, that could potentially affect his sentencing. Of course, then they would have to hear the appeal first and decide what that's going to be. But I don't see anything legally that he can argue, but who knows? I mean, there's been so many surprises in this case. And certainly, I think, funny business in the background, so who knows how it's going to play out. There's one other really important thing that I want to mention is that June is starting a foundation in Reva's name to help abused women. And it's the Reva Rebecca Steenkamp Foundation, and it's being set up to help not just women of abuse, but children of abuse. And that money will go towards creating safe havens to help these people. It's going to be launched most likely in February, and as soon as I have the details, I will make sure that I let you and everybody else know through all of our social media networks how that's going to work and how people can get involved. But, that's something I talked to June and Tanya about, and hopefully can help them with moving forward. And it's something that is very near and dear to their heart, and it's something very real that we can all do to move on from this point, to make some real differences for people out there. That's the whole point of talking about this case. It's not about, just putting your voice out there because you feel like being involved in something. It's, something because someone's a celebrity. That's not what this is about. I mean, this has always been about making sure that the world that we live in as citizens is better because it's in shambles. We talk about Paris and we talk about San Bernardino and we talk about the anniversary of Newtown tomorrow, and it's atrocious. And we have to do something different. And Reva is going to be the vehicle for this. So that's really important that everybody hears that message.
Okay, yes, we'll look forward to that, and we'll send out a link to that when you get it. So anything else you want to talk about? We have a few more minutes. I mean, what are any surprising things about South Africa when you were there? Anything that surprised you? Or, I don't know.
Well, I don't know about surprises, but, I mean, we had so I have so much to catch up on. I have a ton of blog posts that I need to finish that are, half done, so I need to, seriously lock myself in a room for a couple of days and get them done, which I'm going to. But I've got some wonderful, stories and pictures and stuff to share, and so does Nick. He has, of course, he's a photographer. The most beautiful photography of the animals that we saw. We saw a ton of lions. We saw all sorts of animals and beautiful places and beautiful coastline. we hiked out to a place called the Fountain Shack in Roeberg, which is this shack that's like on the side of a cliff, and went out there and stayed there for the night. There's like no electricity, no nothing, and it was just the most incredible experience to be out there in nature, totally disconnected. Just absolutely loved it. So you'll see some pictures of that, and I was almost killed by bees.
What? Oh wow, the killer bees? Yeah.
Yes, I had a very bad experience with bees, and I had to be rescued because I had like hundreds of bees swarming around me. So.
Wow, how were you rescued?
I was doused in WD-20, motor oil. Like that.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah, at that point, I could care less what they put on me. I just wanted the bees off. But, yeah, no, we couldn't find, we didn't have any bug spray or anything. So it was like, I'm like, I don't care. Just do something. Just get them gone. And
Did they sting you? They stung you? Oh, God. How many times did you get stung?
A couple of times, but just like twice. It could have been far worse than it was. So, yeah. That was pretty lucky. But, the drought there is terrible right now, and so those animals and insects are really suffering. And so literally anything that they can latch onto, any amount of water or whatever, they will. So, yeah, it was a pretty dangerous situation, but we survived.
You were just a water bag to them, huh?
I was, yes.
Wow.
But anyway, so yeah, more blogs to come, so be on the lookout for those.
Yeah, and wait a minute, a few more minutes. You saw lions as well. How close did you get to the lions?
Very, within feet.
So you were in a car at the time, or?
We were in a car, but okay, so you'll love this one. So when we got there, after driving, 10, 11 hours, whatever it is to get there, and the last 3 are through, sand and stuff like that. So we get there, we pull up to one of the campsites that's actually just directly across from where we were going to be camping. And these are very remote campsites. There's nobody else out there. We pull into the site. The first thing we see is a lion directly in front of us. So, of course, we're all freaking out and happy and excited and stuff like that. And this was me, Nick, and his dad. And so we pull up. We're hanging out watching the lion, and we did that, for quite a bit of time. And then we're like, okay, let's go get settled in across the way, and we'll come back. His dad goes, starts to drive off. There's a problem with the car. Basically, the car is not working. So our Land Rover, broke down, literally right next to the lion. So we're, sitting in the car, not like AAA's down the street, So,
right.
So we have a pretty funny picture of his dad working under the car with the lion in the background. He's like, all right, you watch the lion. I'm going to fix the car. Yeah, so that was
South Africa.
Yeah, you don't hear that every day, right?
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and then it just gets crazier from there. So this is actually, by the way, Nick and I are writing something called The Lions of Mabua, and there's some very funny, interesting stories that will be in there. So there's a lot more to come.
Wow, great! I want to hear more about your trip. It sounds like a good time.
It was really, honestly, it was really wonderful for just a multitude of reasons. I really look forward to getting back to South Africa. It's a really special place. There's a whole bunch of stuff I didn't get to see that I plan to do next time. So I want to hike Compassberg, the mountain, but I got to get my butt in gear. I got to get in shape. So The goal is to go and come back alive once again. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Okay, well, great. So thank you for checking in and telling us about the trip. And looking forward to now your next book coming out is what, Acquittal, you said?
It's called The Appeal, and it's coming out within the next. It will be just before Christmas, probably right around the 21st. So we're working fast and furious on it right now to put some of the finishing touches in there. But I think everybody will enjoy it. If they like Fugitive, I think they're really going to like this one too.
Great. So The Appeal. So we'll look out for that. And also, one more thing before I let you go, back to Amanda Knox. You were working. You're working on another book about her as well, right? That case, the Meredith Kercher murder case.
Yeah, we are going to get back to Amanda. I know the last couple of months we've been full throttle with all the Oscar stuff going on, but Amanda is still on the books. We have another one of hers to work on the first quarter of 2016. I think tentatively right now it'll probably be March that we have the next installment. That one's going to be pretty a pretty meaty book because it's going to focus entirely on the first trial. We've gotten up to the first 3 books that we've done have gotten us up to the point of where, they've been arrested, they're in prison, the trial's about to start. And now from this point, it's going to be that whole first trial. So that should be an interesting one.
Yes, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're out of time. So thank you, Lisa Wilson. Thank you for being on True Crimes Podcast.
Thanks, Liz. It's always a pleasure.
All right, take care. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.